our economy, our doctors, our teachers. They are all crushed by a flood of regulations that take the joy out of their work. Work morale in Germany is at rock bottom. It is at rock bottom because of the massive bureaucratic constraints they have to deal with on a daily basis, which costs our economy billions and brings them absolutely nothing. And although everyone knows this, new rules and regulations are constantly being added. Why didn't the government actually start with this before launching the debt torpedo? Instead, Friedrich Merz travels through world history and devotes himself to the favorite project of all other parties, giving away billions of euros in tax money abroad and to the EU. The icing on the cake is that the Chancellor wants to use the new megadebt to buy weapons worth $42.3 billion for Ukraine, while the promised tax cut for citizens in this country will not come after all. This is an absolute impertinence towards the working middle classes in this country. It is an indictment that you have broken your word again here. What's more, it is a fatal signal that the seriousness of the situation in Germany and the signs of the times have still not been recognized. If we want to get our economy back on track, we need to unleash it properly. We need to cut taxes for citizens and the economy, and do so permanently. Every euro that the state takes from citizens in taxes reduces the willingness of each individual to perform. Why should you make an effort if you have so little left over from your work that you wonder whether it's even worth it? And why should people work overtime if the state then takes half of their pay and spends it on dubious NGOs or Georgi Kellerman's worn clothes? The worst thing is large sections of the union know all this perfectly well. Many people probably even agree with me. Secretly, of course. But by deciding to enter into a coalition with the SPD, Germany is now getting a red-red-green policy. This can also be seen very clearly in the current lack of a concept on the part of the Greens. Everything they have imagined in their wildest dreams is now being implemented by Black and Red. They don't know what else to say all day, but the people of the country have voted this red-green socialism out of office. Germans voted for a fundamental change of course in the Bundestag elections. You have chosen financial stability and rejected the continuation of the decline.
Crisis in Europe. That is the truth. Back in the summer, the Chancellor, who, as I said, is not here, said, "Citizens should feel that something is changing in the country." Is that what you feel now? Let me make this clear once again. We are the European electricity price champions. That is the truth. Nowhere else in the EU do citizens pay so much money for electricity. And to be honest, German electricity is not high-performance electricity. This is simply electricity. This is simply electricity. Let me quote from your coalition agreement to show how you really have simply lied here. We want to permanently reduce the burden on businesses and consumers in Germany by at least 5 cents per kilowatt hour with a package of measures. As an immediate measure, we will reduce the electricity tax for all to the European minimum and reduce levies and grid charges. You were simply lying. That is the truth, ladies and gentlemen. And who is hit hardest by this breach of promise? The question. Again. Who does that affect? This does not affect us as members of Parliament. We have just collected a nice dietary increase. This also does not apply to Mr. Merz's buddies from BlackRock. It affects families, it affects employees, it affects small and medium incomes, pensioners, and recipients of citizens' income. That is the truth. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a crazy situation in our country. 3,900 people have more than 100 billion euros in assets, 500 more people than last year. One is added every day, at least one. These people have 3 trillion euros in bank balances, cash and securities, if they don't have the 5 billion euros to reduce the electricity tax. We really do have an idea, ladies and gentlemen, and at the same time, almost 9 million people in this country earn less than 15 euros. 20% in the state of Mr. Merz in North Rhine-Westphalia, in my home state of Mecklenburg-Vorpommern over 1/3. That is also unbelievable. Dear Social Democrats Lars, Klingbeil has praised this. I mean, you promised 15 euros during the election campaign. It has now become 13.90, which is €1.10. And that makes a huge difference for those affected. And we will not accept this without a fight, ladies and gentlemen. The coalition partners agree on whatever it takes when it comes to weapons and armaments. In 2014, the defence budget was still at 32.4 billion euros. They want to spend a whopping 152.8 billion euros in this budget by 2029. What madness, I can only say. Let me draw a comparison. India has about 1.3 billion inhabitants, more than Germany, and incidentally, not 31 NATO countries that would stand by its side in case of doubt. India spends 80 billion euros on defence, while they gag the citizens with the electricity tax cut and the minimum wage increase, but the children and grandchildren will still be paying off the tanks and missiles when the country has long been scrap metal. Ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, that is the truth.